please.
Is Victoria coming, please?
No, she's not actually.
Oh, okay. I don't think I need the microphone. Do I?
What?
Blaise, the interns are getting a bit cheeky. Hi everyone, and welcome to Busybird Publishing. Gallery Studio Gallery. Blaise is going to turn some lights off. So, we finally made it with Untitled issue 6. It's just under a year late. It was meant to come out sort of May last year. Quite a few little things happened, as things do. But either we're getting pickier with the stories, or some of the stories that are coming are not very good. So these are really good stories. Because we're really... No, that sounded terrible. No, but it's a bulky issue, and we're very proud of it. I love the cover. Kev's done the cover. Because it's so late, there's obviously competition stories in here, and some of the people who have won the competition, some of the stories from the competition are here, but I've already sent them their certificates and their money because I didn't like them wait. Given their time free to read these, and if we didn't have them, we wouldn't have a book, actually, because there's no way that Les and I could do it all. So I'd like to say thank you to you guys. And in fact, we've read over 400 stories. But collectively we've read over 400 stories. Now each story gets read at least twice in the first round, and then after that they get, they go down the line. So how many is that? My maths is not good because I work with words, but it could be 1,200 stories really if you were to multiply each one being read more than once. So it is a huge task, and I feel that we're very diligent with our work. We don't accept a story that is ready to go. We want to work with the author. I think any authors who are in here will agree with that. So, without further ado, we may start some reading. I'm going to start with Gina. Gina has a story in here. Gina is a local. Yes. You need a dozen. You know. Thank you, Gina.
The man came home, knapsack scarred, buttons polished, straps holding fragment souvenirs, Egyptian dust, Turkish sand, Flanders mud, Australian grit. No one to meet him, no one expected, hails and hurrahs, save for another's war. He went to the platform to the glass display case and looked at neat number rows for his train departure. The Orion line would take him home to his mother's house. My mother needs her son, he thought, her letters crinkled with tears. So many lost in the army post, he thought. One glimpsed ahead of soft water curls, a reminder of Adeline. Adeline awaits my return, he thought. Does Adeline still live in the house 3 back from the grocery corner? Would be nice to pay a visit, nice to hear neighbourhood stories. Nice to see Adeline again. Someone to make a strong pot. The station tea rooms had displays of sweethearts. Lucky, I suppose. You go home to somebody, love? The man nodded, grinned, walked away with his tray. Some time before his train. Tea time, then over to platform 12. He sat near a table with 2 women and their children drawn to the sweetness of voice. Sarah, let Mama wipe your face. Good girl. The fair child blinked at him over a handkerchief. She smiled wide, bestowed cuddles on her doll. He loosened, licked fresh cream from his bun. Dr. Bennett is worried about Daniel, says it's strange for a boy not to play.
I actually have to tell you that I
printed off what I was going to read last night, and when you are in denial about needing glasses, font size is everything. And I put them on the front seat of the car and then left the windows down, of course, and those storms came through, and it was saturated. And I thought, my work is ruined. I thought, what will I do? I'll have to turn up and tell people, like, I brought the first draft, and it's saturated with my tears. It's an artistic tragedy that I was writing. But you know how that voice sometimes in your head says to you, shut up. I'll stop about there. So I'm just going to read you a small part of a story that I have in the issue of Untitled called The Crying Space. I'll just give you a sample of that, and then another piece that I'll tell you about. Bryce took a step away from his bed and paused where he used to stand. He imagined the carpet dented there, as if heavy furniture had stood for a long time. The marks would be shaped to his feet, slightly pigeon-toed and in front of the window from where he once looked out. He pictured the dusty glass colours of his room, yesterday's lit clothes draped over the back of a chair, rows of letters on spines of books, the no-spill straw standing from his cup of water. Dreams cheated him into thinking he could still see. He dreamed of dawdling walks through his garden. Flowers dripped heavily with dew and mangled lines of beans and tomatoes stood half dead at the end of their season. At times, wrapped in a billowing coat, he strolled grey laneways with espresso machines hissing from cafes on the wall like picture frames. When the cleaner came, I told her there was enough dirt on the windowsill to start a planter box. We could dig in a line of petunias instead of scrubbing away layers of car exhaust and dust. At night, semi-trailers roared through. They carried logs from a pine plantation that reminded me of Canada, one I pulled over weeks ago because of car sickness. In darkness, the room lit up as the trucks passed. Shadows and glare splitting across walls. Out past the service station, they changed down gears. I waited for their revving to fade away before falling back to sleep. The pub owner said I was the first person to stay for more than one night since 2000, away from the schizophrenic seasons of Melbourne. No death, no resembling of corpse as I dragged myself up Monday mornings, looking healthy, having people tell me I look younger than my age and not taking the path of working into a prostrate cancer. The town was going to die with this generation. Their daughters and sons had left for degrees with honours at McMansions in the outer suburbs. Over beers, the farmers told me about their dry cropping. Hectares of wheat scattered over near arid ground year after year, everyone hoping that the rains would...
I'm not going to read all of the stories because then you wouldn't want to buy the book. Thanks, Tina.
Thanks. I'd just like to take the opportunity to thank the Untitled crew for all their work in producing this and letting me be in it. The story is called She's All Broken. My name is Margaret. I dribble down my chin. That's embarrassing for a 26-year-old woman. My head lolls around, and when I try to speak, my mouth emits alarming noises. Strange as it may seem, these disconcerting attributes, which you might expect would attract attention, more often than not render me invisible. People feel embarrassed. They've no idea how to deal with a wild-eyed young woman. The atrium of the National Gallery is buzzing with people. I'm not far from the entrance, sitting in my special motorised wheelchair. Adam has gone off to see an exhibition, supposedly. Adam's my minder. He's a good-looking guy in his mid-30s. My mind says that if my body wasn't such a mess, he's the sort of guy I'd fancy, good-looking and caring. Anyone who chooses to give up his time to wipe dribble off the chin of a spastic must be caring. Of course, he never calls me spastic. Political correctness, which as a party of Chinese tourists comes through the door. A young woman leads the way, her arms stretched high above her head, holding a little yellow flag. Funny, the flag's not red. The security guard politely stops the group and signals that those with bags should check them at the quaintly named cloak counter. The young woman relays the message in Chinese, shouting above the babble of the group. A white couple have come through the doors behind the Chinese party. The woman is very attractive, the ticketing annex unnoticed. It's early. There are only a few people waiting for tickets. My head chooses a bad time to go feral, and it takes me a minute or two to spot the couple.
Nancy. Hello. Hi. Are you in the book? I am. What's your name? Wendy. Hi, Wendy. Would you like to read?
Oh, God.
Yes.
You don't have to. I can read. Oh, yeah, no, that would be great. Oh, cool. Yeah, but they're not all here.
No, we'll go easy.
Yeah. So this is Wendy. Thank you. You get a copy of the book up.
Oh, it's nice. There is nothing so loved that it can't be sold. Mr. Engel nodded sagely. Nothing so treasured. Sliding door. And pulled out a tray of engagement rings. Every one of them a gift of love. You think that all these couples broke up? No, many are still together, still in love. But I have their rings. Mr. Engel returned the rings to their display case, rolled the glass door back into place on its ball-bearing track, and engaged a roadmap of wrinkles as he took in the despondent blonde woman on the other side of the counter. Her gaze had barely left the floor. It's all right to sell something you love. It's a question of priorities. I understand that, and so should you. There is to be no guilt. What can one do without money in this world? The woman smeared a tear over her face with her hand and shook her head. Nothing, she whispered. Let me see it then. Without speaking, she lifted a black leather case onto the counter. Mr. Engel flicked open the metal catches. Inside, faded blue velvet, cradled and old, much polished, brass saxophone. I've had it since I was Nicole, things can't be that bad. You come out back with me and I'll make you a cup of tea. You will see. Things aren't ever as bad as they seem. He pushed her in front of him and they parted a beaded curtain with a gentle clatter to enter the back room. Here, in contrast to the crowded front of the shop, the room was sparsely furnished and well lit. Mr. Engel directed her to a chair and then filled an old electric porcelain jug with all your memories of it. I offer you $1,500. No, she shook her head and made to stand. This makes no sense. He held out a steadying hand and spoke slowly. I will pay you an extra $1,150 for your memories of the saxophone. When you got it, how you learned to play it, the songs you have played, in fact, every memory you have that is associated with your saxophone. How can you do that? Her face had pulled into a frown. The curiosity overrode her fear. How is not important? I can assure you it will only take a few seconds and will not cause pain. Actually, he folded his hands together on the tabletop and sighed before continuing. I am a broker. You need money, and I can help by purchasing this from you. It's a simple enough transaction, and if I can help another person by later selling your memories to them, then that is a good arrangement, don't you think? I don't know, she said uncertainly. She looked down at the table, then back up at him out of the corner of her eye. If I lose all memory of my saxophone, how will I know you owe me $1,500? I'll give it to you before we start. And this won't have any effect on me. None whatsoever. The mind closes instantly over the gaps I leave. It will be as if you never had a saxophone, and that is all. Well, how am I going to explain the $1,500 in my purse? A lotto win. Your mind will supply an explanation. She gripped the edge of the table. And you'll give me the $1,500 up front. As promised. You agree then? At her nod, Mr. Engel got up and went back into the front of the shop. The ring of the cash register sounded before the beaded curtain parted again around her.
Thank you. Anyone else turned up? Enjoying the book. You will enjoy it. Enjoy today. We also run workshops here. For people who don't know, we run workshops on how to publish a book, how to edit. Kev does how to use your SLR camera, how to use Photoshop, and lots of other things. So check out our website if any of those things interest you. So, Kev is actually taping everything tonight on his phone, and it will go up on YouTube. So if anyone does not want their face on YouTube, please tell us and we'll make sure to get you out. Okay, I'm distracted because he's pointing at Alright, so we've had all of our people who are here read from the book. There are quite a number of people who live interstate, obviously they can't be here. So I would like to now officially launch the book because it's just come back from the printer a few days ago. So I would like to say well done to everyone, well done to the team putting it together, and well done for the authors, and well done to Les for the magnificent layout. He thinks it's the best layout ever. So let's give it a round. We can have some poetry now. I would like to get Gay up. Read some poetry, please.
Excuse me, Gay, did you just have a book come out?
Yes. I've just had a book come out, but I'm going to read a poem that's not actually in this book. It's a new poem called The Victim. Like an injured bird that could not fly, fear was seen in her stance and eye, alert to identify a possible attack, afraid that the bullies might be coming back. Cruel tormentors are on. Bullies with new names and faces appear, but now she is stronger than her fear. She's found the strength to stand and fight for what she believes is fair and right. After all the past agony and pain, peace and respect are now her aim. Thank you. I'll do one out of my book. Count one. 60. Dear God, I want to talk to you. I realise my conversation is lacking grace and form. I ramble on constantly about everything and I'm torn because my constant twitter must bore you so. But I have lived so long with this conversation flow, my beseeching, Lord, please heal here, please intervene. Please let the unemployed man's real worth be seen. And why am I still fat? I've prayed quite a bit about that. I want to be in good communication. Instead, my mind wanders off on occasion. I seek to have prayers so deep, but instead I pray that hungry birds will be fed. The homeless man wants no patter. And dear Lord, perhaps it doesn't matter as you sort out the weeds from the flowers, and I believe you've listened to me for hours. So Lord, do you think you can see your way to take some of my ugly kilos away? If there was less of me to carry round, my temperament would be far more sound. Just one small miracle I would ask, Lord. Could you make me only half as broad?
Paul, Paul, come up and read some poetry.
I've got two poems. One's fairly short, the other one's short. The first one is called Hallucinations. Without boring you, I've just come out of hospital after heart surgery, and I had hallucinations from the drugs. There is a depth, deep, intense. I knew he was comprehending what I was trying to describe. My flippant self would say, happy that one of us understands, as I sure don't. He said, I'll talk to you later, Dad. This is not reality, but it is your reality. To deny that makes it impossible to deal with. Nights are the worst time. You're alone, in the black quietness, where every minute becomes an hour, and the night's sleep you just had was 30 seconds long. The voices, they can feed on your exhaustion. They are experts at denying rest and sleep of any significance. His calm, measured words reassuring, making sense of the nights when my sleep is disturbed, amplifying that which I'm trying to avoid. Voices, are they voices or just mine, in a senseless, damaging monologue? Of course I know it's not reality. I face only what is being said, and the time I face them is when I'm less able to cope. These moments, disgustingly obscene, no, much more than that. I can't bring a label to mind, don't think about them, don't encourage the hideous flow. Anyway, not real. But that it's real to you. Don't heed what others say. They don't understand, can't understand. How I admire my son. I can only begin to understand how horrible his dark moments must be. Themselves, cloistered and groomed. Many mere children when the convent gates slammed shut on the world. Blind obedience, brides of Christ. Women required to be chaste. Why? Seems controlling many demand. Perhaps you saw the vulnerability of the nuns, prisoners of mind, body, circumstance.
So, please put your name down if you're not on it and you would like to be. And I also encourage anyone who ever comes to open mic night, if you have a book, whether you're self-published or you've been published by a real publisher, big publisher, please bring your books and sell them. I always tell people they should have them in the boot of their car at all times, because you know, someone might say, "Can I look at your book?" And you say, "Well." So I'm now going to ask Heather to come up to read a short story. I can't see you. Heather, yes. Heather has a story called Theodore the Crafty Teddy.
That I used to work with was a real tomboy, and she came in one day with all these teddies that she made, and I couldn't concentrate. I thought, I've got to go home and write a story. And supper was late at night, and my husband was like, "Where's supper?" I'm writing. So here we go. Scratch a little to the left. Ah, that's better. Now Theodore was aware that his creator couldn't actually hear him, as she was one of those human-type creatures. But he did know that she usually picked up his head and put it in the bag when she was ready to go. No, don't be alarmed. It's not one of those type of stories. This is about Theodore being created, stitched by loving Stitch, by Beck, his maker. He adored them, but the top down. Theodore didn't mind. He could watch the whole process. And this was the best part. He could influence her decision without her actually knowing. Theodore had been chatting to the other teddies that were already made. He had learned quite a bit from them. They'd all been started in the craft class and they'd grown up together. They all told Theodore that he was unique because he was being made top to everybody in transit. Fred the Ted had a check shirt, denim dungarees, and a straw hat. A few months had passed and Theodore had a torso, which meant he had a heart. He didn't think it was possible to love Beck more than he did when he was just a head. Sometimes when she lifted him out of the bag, his heart was beating so hard, he felt sure she must be able to hear it. She always gave him kisses. One day at Spotlight, he saw some black leather offcuts and managed to fall out of Beck's bag onto the remnant table. As Beck picked him up, she also grabbed the black leather by accident, or so she thought. I know what I can do with this, said Beck as she walked over to check out. It was great excitement at Beck's house one Thursday evening. She had mentioned to Ben that she would bring him home a completed Theodore. Sandy cuddled closer. Theodore had come home as a teddy boy teddy.
Thanks, Heather. Okay, we have some more poetry. Marcello.
Some of my drawing I must digress, and I really mean this, because I've been being a Methuselah in the art world, I've been around almost 60 years in it, and I've travelled extensively all over the world, and I've exhibited everywhere, you name it, major galleries, small galleries. But last year I was lucky enough to stumble across Busybird. And as soon as I got in, I fell in love with the place, I must admit that. And that's how I finished up by having an exhibition here against another gallery in the city. Because I really, and looking around all these people that we have tonight, you know, that with a common cause, my literature, and also it's great because I'm an old-fashioned person. If I want to read something, I want to hold it in my hand. I don't want to look at a screen, whether it be a big or small screen. A book is to be read and held in the hand, just to have that contact with the person that writes it. So I want to say thank you for having this brilliant idea, and also for giving me a chance to exhibit my work here. Because I'm really looking forward to it. I'm very excited because it's different. You know, you've got a gallery and actually where people are working. So it's a working gallery, almost like a mini Florentine 15th century, 16th century workshop. You know, you expect over there one little room, some Verrocchio or Caravaggio coming out, you know. So, and also with the old printing, those old, well, the old Bibles of the 16th century, 1500s. And so I would look forward to coming here, even I'm not good at anything, but I mean, I like doing things. And I've had a great inspiration coming in, so I decided it was about time that I also worked on my poetry collection, because over the years I've also known small volcanic island, Strangebird, which is very active, the volcano, every night it explodes. And I live 4 kilometers away from the crater. And I never went to school there. My brother was a priest, and I learned all the classics hanging around in the street, sitting on a rock. Never went in the first 4 years, I never went to school. And I'm glad that I had that experience. And so these poems, and also my drawings and paintings, inspired by the history of the Aeolian Islands. In fact, I was doing some, and this has nothing to do with the Elvis Presley, by the way. See, what I've worked in my work, sort of the visual or the music, whatever it may be, I'm trying to place it, so to transpose it, which is annoying, but it's another story. Anyway, so getting back to, sorry about that. Look, we don't know what day the opening day will be of the exhibition, but believe me, I've had a lot of publicity, even overseas. There's been a lot of interest. And I must add that we just got a young Italian ambassador and a young Italian consul. Okay. As I stood on the edge, well, this will be a mixture of Italian and English. There'll be no translation. Some will be Italian, some will be in both languages, but not many, but rewritten. Because translations you lose. I better take my glasses off and see.
It's only time to read the limerick now,
As I stood on the edge, I stood there motionless, watching my lost creatures, staring back at me in a reproaching way. As I stood on the brink of insanity, I went back in time to find whether I was witnessing a dream or a reality. I stood there motionless, watching in sorrowful forms of a young woman. Time passes by relentlessly, and the boy's a madman. Life has lost its simplicity and purity. All is confused and murky.
So we look forward to, I can't remember the opening when we start it, 2nd of April?
Yeah, 12th of April until the 10th of May.
It'll be in our newsletter anyway. Okay, just a couple of writing tips and discussions about writing. Helen's up there. You all want to stare at it. We have one more poet, Glenn. Glenn here. Come on down.
I've got 2 poems for you tonight that I wrote for the Poetry Slam that's run by the State Library every year, usually about October or November, and it's lots of fun and I really enjoy doing it. The first one's called Isles of Tears. Today at the checkout, I just had to shout. How can I have a nice day, try as I may, when I've just been through the pain and sorrow? that are the Isles of Tears. Don't pretend that you haven't seen the Peas and the poor Sarah Lees frozen in their icy cell, and it's hell for teddies dunked in chocolate, and Scotch fingers still pining for the high auntie, while still lusting over fiery redheads nearby, and glad fearing who she'll be forced to cling to, while olive oil is still cruelly labelled as extra virgin, with shadows of their former selves, and branded with the dread used by daters. It's not only gluten being set upon in this reign of everyday terror. Think creamed corn, sliced beetroot, pickled onions, pitted prune, diced tomatoes and the crinkle-cut chip, without mentioning the eggs taken to be beaten and the cream to be whipped. Join me at the barricade. They have their hopes and fears. It's time to liberate my friends trapped within the Isles of Tears. And the second one's called Renovate. Before it's too late, let's make a date to renovate our great sunburnt land. Slip on some empathy, slop on some compassion, and wind up reupholster half the seat, multiplies a great dividing range, and really there's something strange and not very specific about calling an ocean the Pacific. How about the Bradman of the Warning? Surely we can cheer up the Blue Mountains, and while we're there, let's show we care and reunite the three sisters with the ones they love. Heavens above, let's polish the rocks, make Sydney's beaches a bit more manly and a bit less cool, and it's only fair to take Lady Macquarie's chair and at least give her a cushion dome to finish painting the bungles. Devils playing marbles, just too wimpy a sight, and then we just might get an orthodontist to at least have a look at the Great Australian Bight. Yes, you're right, there's plenty more, let's head offshore, straighten the Leaning Tower, defrost the Siberian steppes, glue a nose on the Sphinx, build a veranda on the Colosseum, and a picket fence around the Taj. Come on, think large! We can all march off together, and with tool belts all unfurled, we can all be handy hubbies and renovate the world.
New car. At my grandpa's, I never know what I will find. His latest invention or machine of some kind. He's always working on something with wood or with metal, making new things from clotheslines or grandma's old kettle. Well, today was no different when I went to the farm. As soon as he saw me, Gramps waved his arm. There were bits falling off, and one window was smashed, and the top of the roof was dented and mashed. "My new car," Grandpa said, a proud grin on his face. "I fixed her up real good. She's ready to race. She'll fly like the wind, take us far, far away. Let's go for a spin, eh? What do you say?" He looked so excited, I just couldn't say no. So I climbed in the car. We were ready to go. Grandpa was right. His new car could go fast. The stone that we hit made us fly through the air. And then, up ahead, a big puddle loomed. I covered my face as we splashed and we zoomed through the water which sprayed and came into the car. "Should have fixed that darn window," muttered Grandpa. There was now muddy water on our clothes and our seat. It was over our face and our hands and our feet. The windscreen was now covered in this brown muck. But when Gramps tried to clean it, the wipers got stuck. Well, I was still thinking how we nearly died. He got out of the car and raced around the big pen and said, "Come back next week and we'll do it again."
I can see that as a kid.
Oh, you can choose so much.
Great. Did I miss anyone else? Anyone else want to read? Anyone? Yes?
I can.
Yes, please. I know some people come and just when they watch and then sing you thank for the courage.
I'm David. I live locally. I'm not in the book. I'm not in any book. Phone book, yes. But excuse me. When my grandson, my first grandson, was in prep,
7 years ago. I was up at the school, Sherborne Primary, and they were doing fairy tales. And the teacher was explaining that fairy tales start with once upon a time, and they always end up with, and the class said, lived happily ever after. And I thought about it, and they don't always live happily ever after. The gingerbread man gets eaten, the troll gets butted off the bridge and dies, the pigs get eaten, the wolf gets boiled in oil, and Red Riding Hood's grandmother gets a fate worse than death as well. So I thought I'd rewrite them and make them, give them a moral. And once upon a time, somewhere in fairy tale land, there lived a little old lady and a little old man. I'm just a pumpkin head. And Gingerbread Dan slowly wiped his eyes and said, "That's such a tragic story. It's made me really sad. I don't think that's hopeless, so nothing is so
Well, that just about wraps everything up. Thank you all for coming. Don't forget, I'm pretty sure it's the 19th again next month for Open Mic Night. So I'd love to see you again. We have lots of wine and tea and coffee and more food, so please stay around and chat with each other and put your name on the list if you want to. Buy a book or 2 or 3. We have extras. We have lots of good books. So thanks all for coming. Poetry is also in sale tonight. $15. Thank you.